it's time for some money lessons that we can all learn from Buffett. Jimmy Buffett, that is. Yes, Mr. Margaritaville himself is no slouch at making money. His net worth is $450 million, and that's more than Beyonce.
That's amazing.
Beyonce!
When was the last time you even
Beyonce.
heard one of his songs on the radio? It's been a while.
Doesn't matter because he found other ways to make money, which we're going to learn about. And the person we brought in the studio to help share these lessons is Mark Kennedy. You're a back-end developer at The Fool, or what would you say you do here?
Just an all-around software developer at The Fool.
Okay, software developer here at the Motley Fool, and also, do I call you a parrot head or just a fan of
I've been called
Jimmy
a parrot
Buffett?
head
Yeah.
in the past. I'm a bit lapsed. I used to be a member of the Church of Buffett Orthodox, but again, totally lapsed on that. But still, I have history.
Yeah, so you actually listen to this is how I pictured it. You listen to Margaritaville and you're like, yes, I want to live that song. You hopped in a VW van, you drove down to the Keys, and you lived there for some time.
Somewhat like that, not exactly, but yeah, I lived in the Keys for a good part of my 20s, and I can honestly say that I never would have moved to the Keys if I hadn't been a Jimmy Buffett fan first, and that's not a very uncommon story that you hear down there. So,
Do you have a tattoo?
I have no
A Mexican
tattoos.
cutie?
No, I do not.
Oh,
no.
that's too bad.
Yeah,
There's still time. You got real estate there you could work with. All right. So the first lesson you're here to share is that it's better to be smart than talented.
Yeah, so there's this story about Jimmy Buffett, and people when they knock on Jimmy Buffett for his music, they say, well, he's not a very talented singer and he's not a very talented guitarist, and those things are true. And there's a story that back in the day he was walking down the streets in Key West, and there was a guy noodling on a guitar on the street corner, and Jimmy asked if he could pick it up and play it, and so he picked it up and started playing it. And after a few minutes or whatever, the guy took it back and said, "Oh man, you're no player." And Jimmy's retort was, "Yeah, I'm not much of a guitar player." He says, "But I'm a poet and I'm a businessman, and those things will take me far."
Wow, love that. I'm gonna get that tattooed on me.
So I think with Jimmy Buffett, he's not a great guitarist and he's not a great singer, but he's a good storyteller and he's a very savvy businessman. He said in the past that the reason that he became savvy about the music business in particular is he used to be a writer for Billboard magazine before he had a music career. So he realized that the music business was not structured to really benefit the musician at all. So he always had in the back of his head that he needed to have a plan B of some sort, and he was kind of aware that business might be the way for him to do that. Now he got a little bit lucky with Margaritaville. It was a popular song. I think it rose to number 8 on the charts in 1977. But one big song isn't going to give you a life of leisure.
No.
And he hasn't had a life of leisure, but he's had a life of a lot of hard work and business acumen. So.
We should add here, by the way, that it used to be sort of a running joke with Warren Buffett and Jimmy Buffett that they were related. They did get the genetic test done, and unfortunately, no, they're not related.
Womp womp. All right, the second lesson we can learn from Jimmy Buffett is that if you can join him, beat him.
Yeah, so this story, there's several examples of this. He was down in Key West in the 80s, and Key West was kind of taken off as a tourist destination, and he started noticing that, first of all, his career wasn't doing great in the mid-80s, and he started noticing all these people wearing basically knockoff Jimmy Buffett t-shirts, misspelling his name, Jimmy Buffet. And so he and a buddy decided they were going to open a t-shirt shop in Key West. So this was the first example where he kind of moved into a market that was already there and realized that it was all about him, and he just took it over. And it became the most profitable t-shirt shop in the Keys, or in Key West. And that, of course, led to the Margaritaville cafes and everything else. Similar example is in the 80s, he started becoming sponsored. All of his tours were sponsored by Corona Extra, because they had kind of the tropical lifestyle thing, and so did he. And it was a great pairing until at some point Jimmy realized, well, this was kind of all about him. It was more Jimmy Buffett than Corona. And so he partnered with Anheuser-Busch InBev to start Land Shark Beer. And Corona is no longer the sponsor of Jimmy Buffett concerts. It's Land Shark Beer and Margaritaville tequila and rum and those sorts of things. So he recognizes where he is the value added, and he tries to, basically get all the value that comes from that.
Right. And he's like the lifestyle. We talked about this. He's like the lifestyle brand. There's Margaritaville clothes. There's Margaritaville frozen foods. There's the beer. It's a lifestyle that he represents.
List. I mean, if you wanted to, you could You could eat Margaritaville food. You can drink Margaritaville drinks. You can wear Margaritaville clothes. You can furnish your house in Margaritaville furnishings. You can vacation at Margaritaville hotels, restaurants, and casinos. He has Margaritaville radio on XM satellite radio. He has Margaritaville TV on the internet. And I just saw that there's going to be a Margaritaville mobile game coming out this summer.
Of course there is. Of course.
Yeah, and that's just the ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
Do you just try to get as drunk as possible and then not sunburned or something like that?
I don't know. We'll find out this
game.
summer. Yeah.
So the third and final lesson that we can learn from Jimmy Buffett is that you should diversify. Everything that can have a margarita on it should have a margarita on it.
Yeah, I mean, Margaritaville Holdings, or whatever the actual company's name is, there's no end to the products that are branded this way. So you have Margaritaville cafes and restaurants. You have Cheeseburger in Paradise restaurants, which is a separate thing.
Hey, parents, are you looking for a good children's book?
Right.
Well,
it exists.
yes.
He didn't
What? He's
Yes.
got a Margaritaville children's
Well, it's not
book?
Margaritaville, but he wrote a children's
He
book.
wrote 2 children's books. He's also a best-selling author. He's one of only 8 authors to have the #1 bestseller on the New York Times, both fiction and nonfiction list. 2 of those other people were, 3 of them. Let's see, there was Ernest Hemingway, Dr. Seuss, and John Steinbeck. So,
Wow. I often throw all those folks
there
together.
are others, but I'm not sure. So,
Those
yeah.
4 walk into a bar.
Yeah.
A Margaritaville.
There you go.
Well, where did Hemingway live?
Key West.
There you go.
Yeah.
My dad was a finalist in that Ernest Hemingway
Oh, really?
lookalike contest one year, yeah.
That's a big status.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm a big deal.
All right.
I have both of those books, by the way, Allison, if you want to read them to Hannah.
Do you really? Are they good?
Trouble Dolls and Jolly Mon.
Yeah, they're not bad, actually. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Both based on songs, I believe. Well, I don't know about
See.
Trouble Dolls. Jolly Mon's definitely based on a song, and it has a song in the back and everything. So.
Yeah. Tie-ins.
Right? It's
Gotta
all
be
about,
times.
and then it
Get the
ends.
kids hooked on Jimmy Buffett early.
And now that the story's done, go talk to your mommy and daddy about taking you to Cheeseburger in Paradise. So Jimmy Buffett as a brand, Jimmy Buffett as a musician, okay, yeah, you enjoy it. Maybe it doesn't resonate with me, but whatever, that's cool. But I cannot deny Jimmy Buffett as a brand and a lifestyle.
Oh yeah, and even Warren Buffett. So they are friends, may not be relations, but they're friends. And Warren Buffett in the New York Times a while ago said that he equated the Jimmy Buffett brand with Coke, and that it crosses all sorts of demographics. It's not very focused, and he sees it as just as strong a brand in a lot of ways as Coke. He even asked in that interview if Jimmy Buffett would put Warren Buffett in his will, because he's a big fan of his business acumen. So,
Aw, that's cute. Mark, thank you for coming and sharing. Like, we could not have done this segment without you, because we basically came up with the idea and we're like, oh, now we got to figure this out. And
it's
you
fun.
made it easy for me.
yeah, I mean, every time I hear about Warren Buffett, I think of Jimmy. So, fins up.
Fins up.